Welcome, everybody. It is another thrilling episode of HomeKit Insider. You've got me, Andrew O'Hara, and I am here with, you guys are never going to believe this, the world's most highest expert on dolphin manicures. It is Stephen Robles. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. You know, a lot of people don't know dolphins have nails too. They're very hard to get to.
I know.
That's why you need a
you
professional.
you can give the best dolphin manicure I've ever seen. And you should see the way that you polish a narwhal's horn. It is incredible.
Also, yeah, the cuticles. I mean, I get in there. You know what I mean? I leave no stone unturned, as they say. So I think I'm going to start a YouTube channel, Dolphin Manicures. And I think that's
It'd be the only one, as far as I know.
That would be the only one.
Now,
that is a big.
Do dolphins watch your channel, or do like people watch you manicuring dolphins? Like, I'm not sure if this is like a how-to for other dolphins to learn, or
it's mainly zookeepers.
Other people,
you know, mainly zookeepers, marine biologists. That's kind of the target audience for the dolphin manicures.
Sure.
It's going to be big.
Yeah,
it's going to be huge. Every zoo across the nation.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a weird start. This is the weirdest start I think we've had in a while, but I'm here for it.
You're welcome.
I'm here for it. Let's do it.
It's one of those days, man. One of those days.
It's one of those days. Listen, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Exciting news. We got some new products and reviews. Talk about the HomePods for a little bit. Been listening to those. So let's jump into it. Jump into the news. I'm excited about this. I hope you have good news for me, Andrew. But the LG TVs, WebOS, you know, if you have a LG smart TV, it's probably running WebOS. They've sent out updates. It's now adding a bunch of Apple stuff, not only like Apple TV app and all that kind of stuff, but possibly HomeKit support as well. Now, I've had experience with my LG TV that supposedly has HomeKit. And I don't know if you remember my story, but every time I try to scan the QR code, it like refreshes and it would never let me add the TV to HomeKit. So I'm curious, maybe this update will actually bring legit HomeKit, but this is pretty cool. I'm glad they did it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any of these other devices. Like I don't know if we have the list in the article, but the other companies that are using WebOS on their products, Seiko, Konka, Hyundai, several others are basically using this WebOS to create their own smart TVs. So assuming that this includes some like stability and setup fixes, this should be very nice. Like, it's basically just bringing HomeKit to a bunch more sets.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm going to go try and update. I have two LG WebOS TVs. One was bought last year, so I would imagine that gets the update. The other one was bought like 4 or 5 years ago, so curious if that will actually still get the update. But I will report back and I'll let you know if I can actually add these to HomeKit now. So that'd be fun. I'd be down for it. All right. Now, secondly, Aqara, our friends at Aqara, they are rolling out the Matter firmware update for the M2 Hub. This is it's going up to 4.0, I believe, is like the firmware number. I have the Aqara Hub M2, and then you'll be able to control it, using Matter controllers. You know, this is one of those weird things where if you have it in your home app, HomeKit, like, it's not going to change much to that setup, but you can now like control Aqara devices through a Matter controller. Does that sound about right?
It does, but there's this whole okay. Yeah, so this is going to upgrade Aqara devices to Matter with this update. It's going to take about 4 to 6 weeks for this rollout to happen. So if you have an M2 Hub and you're not seeing the update right now, that's cool. Just be patient. You're going to see it within the next few weeks as that rolls out. They're targeting all of the hubs that were outside of mainland China, and they're starting with the most recently produced hubs for whatever reason. So the hubs that were manufactured in 2022 before going back to the older models. And then once the M2 Hub is upgraded, they're going to move on to the others, like the G3, which is the primary one that I use. Got the camera built in, the eyes on top, all that stuff.
The E1.
I like that one, so that's going to be updated, as well as like the stick and all the other hubs. We're going to be getting this update as well. But once you do update this, it's going to bring in like 70-some Zigbee devices into Matter, and you'll be able to control them with any Matter devices. So if you have something in the Samsung Smart Things that works with Matter, and you want to be able to control these guys, that will work, as well as through HomeKit. Nice. The only thing here, this is really funny because we had just covered, I think like last week, right, that the Samsung app was updated with Matter. Okay, the thing is, Smart Things though still doesn't support Matter hubs. They're going to.
Get out of here.
But this is like just another weird asterisk on the whole Matter saga, because it's like, yes, we support Matter now, unless you're using a hub for Matter, in which case not yet. So this is just, it's kind of frustrating just trying to get to this stable, usable point, because there's so many asterisks along the way to get here.
Listen.
So what's kind of weird too, because I don't know if you saw, but Aqara and Samsung have formed like a new big partnership. Like you can buy Aqara devices direct from Samsung now.
Really?
And there's a bunch of other things that are going on. I'm not sure if you can maybe pair Aqara devices directly with the Samsung stuff, but they have a new partnership that is out there. But yeah, we're still waiting for hub support from them.
Listen, asterisks are like butts. Everybody's got them and they all stink. So anyway, that's asterisks, the Aqara Matter rollout. Andrew didn't like that joke, but that's okay. Maybe I got a chuckle out of him. Anyway, moving on, other news, the Samsung OLED, this is a 77-inch OLED TV. Oh, Samsung, your website, come on, it's being crazy. This is, what is it, $4,500 for a 77-inch OLED, but nice. I mean, OLED TV, that's a big OLED. Is this one of the biggest so far? This is a brand new model?
This is brand new. I saw this at CES. It does support AirPlay, which is why we're mentioning it here, because we can't mention every TV that's, but this one is notable because it is massive, 77 inches plus OLED. It's crazy. Smart TV, has the Apple TV app built in, supports AirPlay, so you can cast up to it. Samsung's never supported HomeKit natively, but as they are doing Matter, like I believe it can be like a SmartThings hub. It'll work with SmartThings. So eventually you're going to have that Matter support and HomeKit built in that way. But yeah, this thing is a crazy set.
I mean, I see those OLED TVs like when I go into Best Buy, and I mean, they look sweet. Those inky blacks, as they say, and it's just nuts. The contrast, but the price, man, they got to come down a little bit more. That's a lot for a TV. It looks great. It looks amazing, but yeah, that's a lot. Now, actually, going back to Aqara, there is actually the Aqara G4. This is the video doorbell from Aqara that will supposedly support HomeKit Secure Video, I believe. This is the guy's Netatmo doorbell. But this is out in the wild. This is like out there, I guess. Wait a minute. That's the Netatmo. What am I looking at? Does this guy have the G4? Is that what we're talking about?
That's what we're talking about.
I know, yeah, but does he have like a tweet with it or something?
He's got several tweets about it. Keep scrolling down. He has a review on February 1st.
Okay. Well, tell me, what were his impressions as I find this tweet? Let me go find it.
Well, so this is Eric. He's Wave Tech on Twitter. But yeah, he's just sharing some information on the new Aqara G4, which was announced like at CES. I will say I can't say too much on it
I see.
Personally, but
there it is. Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll have more to share ourselves soon.
It's very, very mysterious. Okay, very good. Yeah, there's some other tweet replies in here. There it is. That's the Aqara G4 door. That's a big button for the doorbell. That's like, press me to ring the doorbell. That's serious, but okay. Okay, cool. Well, we'll put a link to his Twitter in the show notes. This is the tweet. He's got a video, full video. So let me grab this, and that will be in the show notes and YouTube description. You guys can check that out. Yeah, stay tuned, as Andrew was implying very mysteriously. Stay tuned to our content as well. Now, I want to talk about HomeKit architecture because, my goodness, of all the things, this has been supposedly is going to come back in 16.4. If you remember, listeners, this came out in 16.2. I updated on day one, bricked like 20-something of my devices, or I at least had to keep factory resetting them, which is lots of fun. And everybody thought maybe it'll come back in 16.3. 16.3 is out, no HomeKit architecture. Now, supposedly, it will return in 16.4. And I don't know, man. I've had a lot of people tweeting at me saying even with 16.3, not updating their HomeKit architecture, they've been having issues with like connectivity with certain devices. I feel like it's been a little bit of a mess since the 16 version, but maybe, as we've been hoping with every point update, 16.4 will fix it all. Andrew, maybe this is the answer.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, It doesn't. I'm hoping so, but obviously there's going to be a lengthy beta process here. So for an actual release, we are still looking at, I'm going to say, at least a month away. I would not be surprised if this isn't coming until, super end of March into April, easily here for 16.4, because we don't even have a beta yet. Unless Apple decides to drop a beta super late in the week, which I'm like 90% certain they're just not going to do that, because the way Apple's beta process typically works is they'll drop the dev beta the first day, make sure everything is stable, there's no one yelling fire on Twitter, and then the subsequent day they'll release the public beta of that update for public beta testers, so developers, then public beta testers. So the fact that it's late in the week now when we're recording right now, there's not enough days, and Apple isn't going to drop it on a Friday or something, and then you're gonna something happens and devs got to work through the weekend to try to fix things. So I don't think we're going to see 16.4 the week before that you're listening to this. We might see 16.4 beta the week that this comes out, because it's dropping on Monday. So maybe Tuesday or Wednesday we're going to get 16.4 betas released, which would be nice. Then we're going to have a whole beta process to go along with it that are hopefully going to introduce some stabilizing features. Would you, Steven, here's the question.
Yeah.
Would you upgrade to 16.4, the beta, to try to solve your woes? Or are you going to wait for 16.4 to fully release?
I would not. No, I don't do the betas. I've resolved in myself to not do the betas. Like, even if there's some fix supposedly coming, like I'm not going to do it. But, I will say, since 16.3, or maybe I've spoken too soon now, I was going to say, since I updated to 16.3, I've not had a bunch of devices disconnecting from my home app, but I just opened my home app just to see if that was actually accurate. And no, actually, I have 11 accessories not responding right now. So that's fun. So never mind. It's still a mess. And I'm going to have to go reset a bunch of these light switches again. So yeah, guess wait till 16.4. I'm not doing the beta though. I'll wait. I'll reset my switches. I'll keep holding down the thing and resetting.
I'm over here without issues. Okay. So, I'm going to be upgrading to the beta, but I'm not going to be able to provide any insight since I haven't had any issues now. So unless it gets worse, I won't be able to help you.
Yeah, you can. That'd be terrible. All right. Well, we'll see. 16.4, hopefully, in the coming weeks.
Mind you, now, real quick, Stephen, sorry. Before we jump on,
yeah.
Just mentioning, the reason that we're seeing 16.4 is because it was in the most recent code release that Apple had, like the most recent iOS update. There are comment lines that this user Nicholas found inside of the code. So you can see these code references where they're actually targeting 16.4 as the release, as well as the other subsequent updates for, iPad, tvOS, macOS, watchOS, HomePod software. So that's where that's coming from. We're not, because we already heard it's coming in 16.3, and then that never happened. Now we actually see these comments that are referencing, okay, this is still in development. 16.4 is what they're currently targeting. So that's where that's coming from.
Okay. All right. Very good. Next, this is actually a patent filing by Apple. And this is supposedly like a presence sensor patent, but through the Apple devices. We've talked about presence sensors before, the difference between that and a motion sensor, which I would love a presence sensor style ability. Now that we have the HomePod Mini, we have the big HomePod updated now, being able for your smart home to know what room you are in, even if you are very, very still. Let's say you are reading a book in your bedroom. And, you want the lights to turn off if there is no one in the room. But if there was someone in the room being very, very still, you don't want the lights to turn off on them. And so this kind of presence sensing would allow it to be not just motion, but also if there's someone in the room. And so it would be great. Apple could use your Apple Watch, your iPhone, all those different Apple devices. If there's a device like that in the room, then it would assume you are in the room and all that. So I'm just looking forward to, in the next couple of years, presence sensing and occupation sensing in a room being a thing, not just motion. So I'm excited for that.
What's interesting is, I don't know if you remember this, Stephen, and I haven't really seen anyone else mention it, but I swear it was a thing, which was Apple seems to already know where you are in the home, and it uses it. but it's only using it right now for like the Siri suggestions widget. So like I will go up into like our bedroom or something, and it would say, you often use this app in this location, and pop up. Like it knows like in like I went into that room, it knows the room you're in because it can likely connect to the HomePods that are in that room. And it's like, okay, yes, Andrew's in this room. When he's in this room, he always opens dark noise. And it would pop that up as a Siri suggestion in that widget. So Apple is already like experimenting with this tech. So the fact they can expand that into actual smart home use as a feature, as a trigger, as well as this other stuff is really interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah, I also feel like the Apple TV remote sometimes the control center knows where I'm at. Like it will jump to the Apple TV that's, on in the room rather than just one of the other 4 or 5 around the house. So yeah, it'd be nice. They could do smarter things that way. Also speaking about motion sensors, supposedly Onvis is soon releasing a Thread motion sensor. I think this is the Eve motion sensor Thread right now, their latest version.
Yeah, I believe so.
I'm not sure. Is it? Okay, so this would be like the second one. The Hue motion is not Thread yet because that's Hue's proprietary, like Zigbee or whatever. But this would be another Thread motion sensor. Always good. I'm going to try and get everything all Thread all the time as much as possible. But cool. We'll have another motion sensor out there. That's fun. And wow, I think that was it for the news. And now we could talk about like reviews and stuff. We want to talk about the new HomePod. You have a Narwhal, a horned dolphin you're going to talk about. I think that's what that is. And I got something from SwitchBot I want to talk about as well. So we're going to talk about that. But real quick, I'd like to thank our one sponsor because I actually went to a doctor's appointment last week. Right after we recorded last week's show, I had booked an appointment through you-know-who, our friends at ZocDoc. You can download the free app at ZocDoc.com/HomeKit. No, ZocDoc.com/HKI. HKI is the URL. But I used the app, and I booked an appointment, an annual physical, and I actually went in. And when I walked in, they were like, did you book through ZocDoc? I said, yes, I did. And they said, great. We have all your information. They had my health insurance information because I put my health insurance card in the ZocDoc app. I didn't have to fill out a bunch of forms when I got to the doctor. Andrew, this was the experience. It was amazing. So listen, where maybe you haven't been to the doctor in a while or you moved recently, which was my case, and I didn't have like a primary care doctor. I wasn't sure where to go. I used ZocDoc. I looked at the patient reviews for all the doctors that are around. I found one that was like highest rated, closest to me, booked the appointment, did all the things. It was seamless, Andrew, and it was wonderful. ZocDoc is the only free app that lets you find and book doctors who are patient reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them, and they treat almost every condition under the sun. Now, you use ZocDoc too. Didn't you make an appointment at some point with ZocDoc?
I did, yeah. My wife has used it before to get into urgent care for just something. She just filled it out online. She just walked right past all these other people who scowled at her because she just walked in and passed everybody who was sitting in the lobby waiting, and I just kind of laughed. Like, you guys all need to be using like ZocDoc so you don't have to sit there like a bunch of bums. But then I used it recently because I had a cough that never ended. And yeah, I just did a quick telehealth appointment, got some prescriptions for my cough, cleared everything up, and so easy, good to go. Like literally got an appointment within a couple hours that day. It was pretty great.
Amazing. It is amazing. So listen, don't play doctor roulette anymore or scour the internet for questionable reviews of different doctors. With ZocDoc, you have a trusted guide to connect you to your favorite doctor you haven't met yet. I like my doctor too. I'm going to keep going back to her. So millions of people use ZocDoc's free app to find and book a doctor in their neighborhood. It's totally free. You don't have to pay anything for it. And they are patient reviewed, fits their needs, and scheduled just right. And Andrew and I both use ZocDoc. So go to ZocDoc.com/HKI and download the ZocDoc app for free. Find and book a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/HKI. ZocDoc.com/HKI. That link is in the show notes. Thank you, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this episode. Let's talk about HomePod. HomePod 2, Andrew. You have them. You've reviewed them. I have a pair of them sitting right here. I got them in white. What color did you get again? I forgot.
Not white.
What'd you get?
The only one that is not white. Midnight.
There it is. The midnight. Okay, so this is interesting. You said a great smart speaker struggles to stand out. I'm very interested your take on them. I think it's interesting because they do not sound like the originals. I found, I compared a pair of originals with the new ones, and I also heard other people talk about them to kind of confirm my suspicions. I feel like a lot of the early reviews didn't address some of these differences, but the HomePod 2, the new ones, there is less bass, less punchy bass than the originals, but better mids and highs, better clarity, better frequency response. That was my experience. Overall, they sound very, very good. I really like them. I've been listening to music here in the studio. Series much faster, obviously, S7 chip. And I really like them. I think they're a great value. So, I mean, that's just high level. But, Andrew, tell me what you thought. HomePod 2.
Yeah, so it's like a mixed bag because definitely it's a big improvement over the original. Like there's a lot of improvements here between the updated chip on the inside. We've got Thread. We've got the U1 chip for directional handoff transfers and everything that are much more improved. Like the whole thing is overall better. The sound-wise, I don't think there's like a huge change. I would say there's like maybe a bit more like separation in the highs. I really don't hear much of a difference between the two. Like there is some, but it's not big. But even Apple itself, in their giant press release, they don't even say anything about better audio. They don't say it's improved audio. They don't say a single thing about other than it just sounds good. So I don't think that was supposed to be a selling point. And even just today, this morning, I don't know if you saw it, Stephen, but they did a blind audio test over at Macworld of the new HomePod, and they could not tell the difference between the two. Like it was basically a wash from the last generation to the new generation. Really? So I found that very interesting. So even though there may be some slight differences, you might hear, especially depending on the music and your surroundings, you might notice some small differences. But my biggest takeaway of that is it's not a gigantic difference, and it's not a big step forward audio wise. So don't expect massive improvements in audio from the first generation of the full-size HomePods. That would be my general thing on it. But I was just the biggest thing I'm disappointed by is like they didn't drop the price. They kept it still at $300, and they didn't introduce anything new. Everything here is in the HomePod Mini except for the sound. Just louder, bigger, fuller sound and more bass between this and the HomePod Mini. So I struggle with just what kind of sets it apart, because I'm talking to people like my sister-in-law. She actually comes up to me. She's like, "Hey, I want the new HomePod." Well, she didn't call it a HomePod. She called it, some other
Series
AirPod speaker or something like that. I don't know. But she's like, "Do I need this?" And I was like, "Well, if you want like a smart speaker with this," she's like, "Okay, well, like, what's it do?" I'm like, "Well, it does this and this." She's like, "Okay, should I get it?" I was like, I mean, you don't need it. Like, you can just get the HomePod Mini for $200 less for your average user. Like, the difference is audio. If you want better audio, you have to spend the $200 more for the big HomePod. And I would say, like, ranking-wise, one HomePod sounds the best. Next step up would be 2 HomePod Minis, I think would perform better than one single big HomePod. And then you got a pair of big HomePods on the high end. They're going to do the best. That would be, like, kind of my ranking between like those 3 choices on how much you want to kind of get into it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's got the sensors in there. It's got a lot of, and the biggest thing I was surprised by, Steven, I don't know about you, was how fast Siri was. Like seriously fast. And setting scenes was a lot faster, like really, really fast.
Yes. It is very fast. I have them here in the studio, which I run a lot of scenes, like when I'm getting ready to film, record a podcast. And I did find them responding very fast. I think slightly faster even than HomePod Mini. Which
for sure.
HomePod Mini has an S5 chip. Yeah, and these have the S7. So it is a newer chip. It's faster. Even asking it the weather or to run a shortcut, even simple shortcuts, they are very fast. And so when it comes to speed and responsiveness, it's like there's zero frustration. Like I enjoy the speed at which they respond. I will say, comparing it to some of the other sound system, which I'm curious, you have a bunch of other speakers. You have like the MUI 2 or whatever that wooden thing is. What is it? The MU2? What is that thing?
You talking about no, I can't think of it.
It's like $2,000.
I'm staring at it and I can't. The name
that thing.
Muso.
The MUI 2.
Muso.
Muso.
The MUI, the MUI
I know
is
you
that
have
Matter controller board. That's the wood controller board from CES. This is the name Muso 2. I don't have the wood one because that was just like,
Gotcha.
did hands-on, sent them back. But I do have the full-size name Muso 2, which it absolutely sounds 10 times better than the HomePod, but it's slightly more expensive.
Right. Well, and so that is my thought, and I'm curious your thought. When comparing it to other options, I have a Sonos Arc Sub Gen 3, the big Sonos system there. I have the Sonos Beam and Sub Mini in a bedroom. Plus, I have a pair of 1SLs outside on the patio. So, like, comparing all of them, if you compare price first, a pair of HomePods is at $600. Arc and Sub, $1,600, like $1,000 more. A Sonos Beam and Sub Mini, you're talking around $900. I think the pair of HomePod 2s in general is a great value for the sound. And if you already have an Apple TV, which is an additional cost if you don't have an Apple TV, it's $150 if you get the good one. That is an additional cost for like a home theater setup. But if you want something like $600 or under, and you want like a great music listening experience, and you want to have a really good home theater experience and not spend like close to $1,000, I think a pair of HomePods is a great option. I would even prefer a pair of HomePod 2s over a Beam or Arc, even an Arc by themselves. I think by themselves, those two products, the Sonos Beam and Arc, do not provide enough bass and low end for like movie watching experiences or even like enjoyable music, depending on what you're listening to. I think the HomePod 2s do a better job at that. So when it comes to value, everyone says the HomePods are expensive. I think the people who say that have not looked into like Sonos systems and looked into like the Muso and like all these other high-end audio gear. I think the value of a $600 pair of HomePod 2s is actually really good.
The only thing I would say is, yes, I think on the bass side, because each HomePod has a 4-inch dedicated woofer. Okay, I mean, that's sizable compared to what can fit inside of some of these sleeker soundbars like the Arc. So I agree there's not as much low end on the Arc, but I think its spatial audio, its Dolby Atmos performance is better on the Arc than with the HomePods. I don't think the HomePods can directionally place audio as well.
If you were going to have a home theater setup and you had to choose between just an Arc, no dedicated sub, or a pair of HomePod 2s, which would you choose for your room?
I would go Arc because for me, spatial audio is more important than the bass. Like the bass is great and fills out the sound more. And when you add the bass, like the sub to like the Arc, you get better performance on the spatial audio. But I just think even by itself, the spatial audio is better with the Arc than it is with the HomePods. And for me, I think that like when I'm watching something, the spatial audio of hearing things like around you is more impressive than just big boom. Like, I don't know.
Sure. No. I get that. Yeah, and that is part of, preference. Yeah, I think the low end for like actiony movies, you're thinking of explosions and like punches, if you're watching like a Marvel movie, like characters like fighting and stuff like that. I guess I feel it feels more, I don't know, man. I guess me personally, I enjoy the experience more when I can like feel some of those things as opposed to whether I hear like a jet flying some kind of behind me, but more off to the side because the Arc is trying to bounce it or whatever. So it is, I think, up to preference. But again, even that, two HomePods, still cheaper than an Arc. The Arc is like $800 or $900. And two HomePods, you're at $600. So
yeah, in that situation, I would go Arc.
Good.
But I think compared to the Beam or the Ray, I think it is a great option, assuming you have that Apple TV already, because you have to have the Apple TV.
Right.
Because when you have the Apple TV and then you're using the HomePods, even when you're not using the Apple TV, it's using it as the audio output for your television. So that's the thing. So you can actually still use like your PlayStation and then cast through your speakers. So it is nice in those situations. So I think compared to a lot of sound bars, I'd rather do two HomePods.
Okay. Okay. Well, there you go. Well, we'll put a link to Andrew's review in the show notes. Read that for sure. And I mean, you got me tempted now to do a blind test. I'm curious if I could tell the original HomePods from the new ones.
You got to do it and then report back next week because
that.
I'm curious as well at what your findings are.
Okay, I might do that. Okay. All right. Well, interesting. Along the same lines, Sonos is supposedly going to be launching new speakers. This is maybe the code name, maybe this is the official name, but Era 100 and Era 300. These will be, pretty not more powerful, but this will kind of be competing with the HomePod specifically. It would be the Sonos 1 successor, the Era 100, Sonos 300. Maybe it's the Sonos 5 successor or just something in the middle. But coming right for the HomePods, I'm curious again. I like the Sonos stuff as far as sound. I do think they sound very good overall. A pair of Era 300s, whatever this new speaker is, would be very curious to compare that to the new HomePod. And, the big thing is, and this is part of the value of HomePod, Sonos, they do build in Amazon's assistant. Sonos has their own assistant now, so I'll be curious what these new speakers, what is on by default, what is even available. Can you just do Hey Sonos, or can you do the Alexa assistant as well? So curious what comes with that. But overall value, a pair of Sonos Era 300s, will you be able to, use that for Dolby Atmos with a TV? Do you have to connect it via HDMI, or does it do something else? Will they be more for rear speakers in a Sonos setup? Smart assistant. But I'm very curious. We'll be keeping an eye out and might jump on them just to see how they sound and compare to the new HomePods. So I think it's cool. That's fun.
Yeah, what I'm very curious about, Steven, and it's one of those things where it's like something that I really, really like despite not using them very much, and that's like over-the-head headphones. And there's been rumors for a long time that Sonos is planning on creating its first set of over-the-ear cans. And even like their CEO at their last earnings was like, yeah, we plan to launch into like 3 new product categories within the next like 2 years. And I can see headphones being one of those. And what's even more curious is the fact that AirPods Max have been like out of stock, large lead times of weeks. It's been like 2 years, right, since they've been updated. So
yeah, they came out December 2020.
Yeah, so what is the future going to look like here? Because I'm very curious at how these new Sonos ones perform. Because honestly, they're probably some of my favorite speakers to recommend because they are so rock solid, great design, great software, and they're doing stuff a lot of people aren't doing. So I really, really like their speakers. And now if they move into headphones, AirPods Max, they have some quirks with them. We haven't had a second generation version yet. Will we get a second generation version? And they're fairly expensive. So how is Sonos going to mix into that? What are they going to have that's different? I assume one of the flagship features, guaranteed, is passing off audio like seamlessly from your headphones to your Sonos speakers. Like there's going to be just, I'm sure, some easy way to like do that. But I don't wear over the head headphones all that much. I don't know about you because I think you wear them definitely more than I do, but I always just stick in my AirPods because they are convenient. And then when I even go somewhere on a flight, I'm like, man, I'm trying to pack light. Should I take a whole set of over-the-ear cans, or am I just going to stick in AirPods again? And more often than not, even if they're not AirPods, I'll go with the Master and Dynamic MW08s as far as earbuds go because I think they're better than AirPods and they have better noise cancellation and they're pretty sweet. But I don't know. I don't turn to them that much.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this the other day. If there was an AirPods Max 2 that came out, I don't know if I would upgrade because I'm staring at them right now. They sit here on my desk in the studio. I really don't wear them very often. I wear these wired headphones whenever I'm recording, either this show or Apple Insider. Like whenever I'm recording something, I want wired headphones for latency and all that. I'm not going to wired headphone up the AirPods Max or whatever. If I'm going to listen to music, I now have my big HomePod stereo in here. And if I'm ever going to go into another room because I'm editing a show or just want to listen to something, I will pretty much 100% of the time bring my AirPods Pro 2 just because I can throw this in my pocket. It's easy to carry around. And the AirPods Max, they just kind of, they're a little too cumbersome. And I don't audio quality wise, don't feel that much of an improvement. I listen to podcasts more often than music anyway, like when I'm out and about. And so for podcasts, like I'm not looking for the highest fidelity audio playback for like voices speaking. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'd be curious what the Sonos, if they come out with them, how they compare. But I don't think I would upgrade. I don't think I would get another pair of the AirPods Max. That's just me.
I agree.
I don't know. All right, so you have a Horn Dolphin review here, the Narwhal Frio. This is on our YouTube channel. That's a very becoming freeze frame there of the Narwhal. Okay, that doesn't look like a Horn Dolphin. That looks like to be something different. So tell us, what is this?
This is very cool. So I will say the video itself was sponsored by Narwhal. So they did sponsor the video itself, but it's smart home tech, and I can't not talk about it despite that. But this is another robot vacuum. It will vacuum and mop in your house. But this thing is really sweet, and it does a couple really neat things that I was really impressed by. So first, the base station, it actually has a touchscreen on it, so you don't have to use your phone. And with our current setups, even like cool. Shortcuts using like Siri and your voice works great, but you have to set them on each individual person's phone, and it can be cumbersome in that way. And then the other thing is you always have to pull out the app and do all of that. This, when I've been testing it, I can just go up to it and I just tap and it just goes. Like, it's so easy to start without having to do anything. Very, very handy. So I like that it has that whole touchscreen on there, and you can swipe through and choose the different modes. So their preferred mode is called Freo mode, and it actually detects your floor type and then will adjust the cleaning for it. So not just like hard surfaces versus carpet, where it can like lift the mop, which is fine, but it'll actually like, okay, this is hardwood. I'm not going to scrub that much because I don't want to damage the hardwood. Or this is tile. I can really get in there. And it will adjust its like pressure, the downward pressure, differently based on different surfaces to protect your floors and get the most cleaning out of it. The second thing it does is, I can't remember the name of it, but it's called like Smart Swing. And as it goes down your wall, and there's a video of this in the review, it actually rotates like its butt towards the wall to get the mop right up against the edge. So when you're mopping, it can clean up within like a couple, like looks like a couple millimeters from the wall. So you're not missing like anything compared to other vacuums and mops that are attached underneath, but it can't get quite that close to edges. So I thought that was a really neat Smart Swing. Yeah, right there. Really neat little feature on it. I like that a lot. So they have a cleaning station that it docks into. So there's dirty water and clean water, and it'll clean everything out. It'll go in, and it uses, the mops are spinning mop heads versus like a buffering type thing. Static. Yeah, and so it'll rotate those and clean those, and then it'll clean everything out. So it'll pull out the dirty water, has clean water, and there's a little cartridge basically of the cleaning solution that you just snap in, and then you're good to go. It doesn't empty the dustbin, and they actually said that there's a reason for that, and mainly because you'd have to use like bags and other things in the inside, which is going to be another like replaceable part that you have to do. And for most people, you can go like a week without having to empty the dustbin, and it just wasn't worth dealing with all that stuff just to empty out the dustbin, because you have to empty the other one out anyway. So I get that. It's also ridiculously quiet. When this started running for the first time, Faith is like, is it running? Like, I don't hear like suction going.
Really?
And they focused a lot on keeping it quiet so it can kind of clean your house without being disruptive. And they did like these tests, and if they increased like the suction to something crazy, like some of the other robots, is it increased the volume just like by an insane amount. And they found that it only picked up like 3% more debris. So it was like such a small benefit by increasing the suction. So it was way too loud, hit the battery life, but you barely got any extra clean from it. So it just didn't make sense.
Interesting. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's a really neat.
I like these the rotating mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. There's no Siri shortcut integration or anything like that, at least right now. But overall, I was very impressed with it compared to some of the other ones. It was definitely something that's worth considering. I also like the look of it.
Very cool. $1,500. It does. Yeah,
I like that
it looks nice. I like this
in
base
there.
station look too, where it has just a clean look, and it kind of hides away. You know what I mean? Like it goes into this base station, goes into its little home, and it's pretty nice. 1,500. I mean, you're in like Roborock S7 Max V Ultra. We still have to try the S8 Pro Ultra or whatever their new model is that came out at CES. But this looks really cool. This looks like a really great alternative, if you want to try something different than the Roborock. I love that the butt swinging or whatever
the smart swing
the
thing.
Swing mode to get closer.
At least compared to the
smart swing.
I will say for people who are not in Florida, this did a better job cleaning winter debris off of the floor than the Roborock did. Those spinning mops were able to clean like the salt off of our floor better than the Roborock. I mean, the salt, you come in with wet shoes, and then it's like liquid goes on the floor and then dries, and you have like, this salt on your ground. And this did a better job at cleaning it than the Roborock did.
Interesting. Well, that looks pretty cool. We'll put a link in show notes, of course. Watch Andrew's review. $1,500 for this. And I will say, I love my Roborock. Again, the cleaning and the mopping, like these things actually do a good job now. And if you tried like a Roomba years ago, like 7 or 8 years ago, and you weren't happy with how it cleaned, I would recommend, if you have the funds, to try one now, because they actually do a really, really good job. And so it's pretty impressive. Pretty cool. All right, well, we have some other reviews. Real quick, let me just mention, I was sent this thing from SwitchBot. This is the new SwitchBot Blind Tilt. And I've never had a blind tilt thing. This thing is pretty cool. It attaches to the pole that you twist to like open your blinds. And it's just a little motor, like spins it around. I'm going to try and be super fancy. I have a video of it here. Let's see if it actually plays. And let's go live, playing. You're going to hear my kids talking in the background. But
opening the blinds.
I don't even know if you can see that. But anyway, that is the blind. That's what it sounds like. It's kind of whining. But that is a SwitchBot thing. It's pretty cool. It works. No HomeKit support just yet. You can do Siri shortcuts and then trigger those shortcuts talking to your HomePod Mini, which I did, and it works well. So now my blinds like automatically open and close whenever I ask for it. But one thing I did want to mention too, I had not been running Homebridge for a while because I was trying to go no Homebridge, nothing, like everything straight HomeKit. This thing made me want to try it again. And so I set up Homebridge once again on a Mac Mini in my closet. SwitchBot has a Homebridge plugin for Homebridge. And so I was actually able to get the SwitchBot Blind Tilt into my Home app. Hopefully it's still connected, although Homebridge might connect better than my other devices right now because of HomeKit. But yeah, there are the blinds, and that's the actual SwitchBot blinds through Homebridge, and I can open and close them. And then that little motor twists the little pole, like physically twists the pole to open the blinds, and my blinds are open. And then I twist them closed again. The configuration process is interesting because they have you like twist it all the way open to open your blinds, and then twist them so they're open perfectly horizontal, and like it kind of detects how many spins it takes for the blinds to actually open and close. It's pretty cool. It's working consistently using the SwitchBot app or Siri shortcuts, and pretty easy to install. You do have to like get an adapter for however thick your blinds spinny pole is. This way, like the SwitchBot thing can actually grab onto it, and there's like a gear inside. Sounds complicated. It's really not that complicated to set up. It took me about like 15 minutes, and it's pretty fun. And so that is the SwitchBot Blind Tilt. And since that encouraged me to try Homebridge again, I was curious, and I was looking for a Denon receiver plugin because I have long spoken about the annoying part of my receiver, like not really smart home, whatever. And I found there is a Denon Heos, Heos plugin for Homebridge, and I was able to connect my receiver to my home app. It is the jankiest deal ever because it's not supported directly. So like the volume control shows up as a dimming light bulb in the home app. And so it looks like I'm raising and lowering the brightness of a light bulb. To change inputs on the receiver, they look like physical switches on off, and every input is like a different switch. So if you want to switch to the Xbox input, you switch that switch. It's really weird, but it actually works. And so I was like, you know what? If I want to create some scenes or whatever, like right here in the Home app, you can see I have an Apple TV and Xbox input, and they're like literal like switches on off. But that will actually change the input on my Denon receiver. And then you'll see the receiver volume up there towards the top of my screen. It looks, you can change the icons, whatever you want, but it shows as a light bulb brightness, but it also changes the volume. And so you can like create a HomeKit scene with this HomeBridge plugin to turn on your stuff, wake your Apple TV, go to specific input, set the volume at a certain level. And I have like HomeKit control over my Denon receiver because of HomeBridge. So I'm back on the HomeBridge train, all that to say. And I would be curious what other, I know Roborock, there is some plugins out there for Roborock, and so I might try that again. We'll see. But anyway, that is
so you know what's really funny, Stephen, with the SwitchBot stuff?
That's all.
So I talked to the team out at CES, and they were sending over their Matter hub, their hub with the Matter firmware and stuff, well as I believe they weren't going to send a curtain controller because I don't have curtains anywhere unless I'm going to automatically open and close my shower curtains. But they were sending their smart lock as well.
Dangerous.
And their CEO emails me and goes, "Here's your tracking number for your stuff." And I was like, okay. And I put it in, and it's it said delivered a couple days ago. And I'm like, it was not delivered. And I go in and look, and it's it went to Florida. And I'm like, did Steven get something from SwitchBot and he just sent your tracking number?
Wait, but it was supposed to be the door
He was
lock?
sending me their hub plus their Matter stuff is what he was sending over for me to review. And he sent me the tracking number for your curtain thing. So I think that's what happened. So I'm still waiting for the Matter hub to get here.
Nice.
But yeah, I was like, what the heck? Why is it going to Florida? And then I'm like, it clicked. You just sent the wrong tracking information over.
It was my blind tilt.
There you go.
Look at it there, yeah. But it's cool. But I'll use it for a while. Let everybody know what I think. So now you also tested a smart plug. This is the Matter smart plug you tested. Is this a Matter thing?
Check it out. This is I don't know what is the first of anything anymore, but this is their Matter plug. This is I think one of the first ones, if not the first dedicated one to go up for order. And it's now they're beginning to ship because I saw a few other people had gotten them. But this is a 2-pack. They come just straight up with
Ryan,
Matter
Sailhammer
out of the box. You can see we've got a little, I don't know, this will focus because it's so tiny. But there's a little Matter pairing code. It doesn't say HomeKit or anything. It's a Matter code on these guys. But this is the size of it. So it's a pretty small little plug. You got your dedicated button on the side. US normal AC adapter there, and it works in Matter. So I did set this up, and it shows in Home, it shows in Smart Things, and if I had anything of a Matter support that could control Matter accessories, I would be able to do things with this. But right now it just shows in HomeKit. But this is my first actual Matter product with a Matter pairing code. All Matter out of the box, not a product that you had to buy and then update the firmware on. So it's pretty exciting. I'm just kind of reviewing it right now because I asked them what they want me to do. They wanted me to hold off because they're out of stock. So if I reviewed this fully on AI, no one's gonna be able to buy them. But then I'm also feel like I'm behind because everyone else is already doing stuff with it. So I feel like I'm already behind by not being able to review this in full quite yet, but it's also another smart plug. I have more smart plugs than anything. I just got so many of them, Steven. And then I end up testing and reviewing, and then I don't remove them from the app, and then I unplug them because I'm not using them. So I always have no response items just because I've got review stuff that I just save because I want to be able to update and test and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, these are pretty cool. They're also just so tiny, itty bitty little fellas. Yeah, they look cool. That was Ryan on Twitter. He actually seemed to get one as well. So he's got that Matter plug
It's very cool. And then also, this was a kind of a follow-up from last week. We talked about the TP-Link Matter plug and how, like, it is on Amazon right now, pretty inexpensive. Apparently, Ryan Off on Twitter, he tried to get one, but this is like shipping in 1 to 2 months, I guess, if you try to get it now. So little delayed on that. But if you happen to get one of these Matter plugs and direct it into HomeKit, let us know. Let us know if it works and how seamless that process is. It's Matter. It's here. You can buy Matter things. It's a smart plug. I mean, that's what that is. But, still cool. Still fun. So, tweet at Andrew and myself. We're also on Mastodon. You can find all those links in the show notes. Comment on the video. And let us know what matters to you and also Matter stuff. And if you have any questions, projects at home, share them with us. We'd love to share them on the show. We got a bunch of visuals, too. If you go to youtube.com/HomeKit Insider, been screen sharing images and showing stuff and real visual now. Real visual here at HomeKit Insider. So thanks for tuning in.
See you, everyone.
We'll catch you next time.